Absolutely nothing could have prepared me for March 2nd, 2012. The death, the destruction, it was unbelievable. The pain, you just can't imagine in being in your home and then it turning into nothingness. There was not one piece of plywood left of the foundation of our home. I can remember when the tornado came through our home, and it peaked at about 175 miles an hour. And I'm laying with my two children, and I had grabbed a blanket, threw it on top of them, and told them I loved them, thinking that was the last moments of our life. That there is no way we could survive something like this, and that I cannot believe it's over. Miraculously, even when it came through, and I was able to get the children out, I looked around in utter shock. It was amazing to me that how in this one little space of a home, a 6,500 square foot home, now we survived, because there wasn't a hole anywhere else. There wasn't a place I could say, oh, you'd be safe here. All I could see is, why are we here? How are we here? How did we survive this? And when we're out in the open, and I looked up, and I've got my two kids who are obviously pretty distraught, and I look around, and my son, who is 8 at the time, sees another tornado come at our house. So most people don't know that we went through two. We went through two tornadoes, and this one was an F2, and we were out in the open, and we were exposed. I was terrified. This was the absolute scariest thing I'd ever been through, and the utter destruction, and then realizing that my legs are severed, that I can't get up. I can't get up to help them, and I'm bleeding out at this point. So it becomes a race against the clock, and I'm finally able to convince my son to go across the road and get help, and not to come back. And a nurse came over, she was a nurse that lived across the street, came over, but she was in shock. And so I'm screaming at her, I'm yelling at her. I'm like, okay, I need you to get it together. I don't have a whole lot of time. Right now, there's not a whole lot of time. And I'm trying to stop the bleeding. She's like, oh boy, yeah. And I'm like, come on, get it together. I need you to go find some help. There's a police officer down the road, and he can help. So I need you to go find him. And she's like, okay. And so then it was the moments by yourself. That's probably the most difficult time I had, because now I'm back in the game. Now I've got to figure a way to pep talk myself out of this. How am I going to do that? And I'm literally talking out loud like a crazy lady. I'm going, you can do this, you just got to hang on. To the next minute of, I cannot believe I'm going to die right here. I cannot believe that at 38 years old, this is the end of my life for me. And the cold and the rain and everything was setting in. And my mind kept going back to, you just got to keep going. You got to keep going, okay? I kept thinking about my kid's life without a mother, my husband's life without a wife. Okay, maybe just my kid's life without a mother. I can get away with that. He's not here. The rescuer that's with me, he's a guy I've never met. One of my best friends now, but a guy I've never met. And he has got this look of agony on his face. I mean, it's pure agony. And I know that he's struggling, because what he's seeing is a woman he thinks he's never going to see again. He doesn't think I'm going to live, because it took 4 of them to lift me out of this debris and rubble. My legs were severed. So one person had to have one of my legs, the other one, my other one, and then the rest of my body. And he thought, there's no way this woman's going to survive. And he's having to hold the tourniquet on my leg, and I'm screaming in the car, because, the pain is now very, very real. It is very real. Some of that adrenaline's wearing off, and now I realize, the struggle that I'm facing. And, he's tourniqueting that leg, and he's having to hold up my head because I have punctured my lung. I can't breathe. I can't talk. And if my head lays down, then I start to get sleepy, and I just couldn't go to sleep. So I'm watching Russ, and I look at him. I'm like, well, I guess there goes pedicures, eh, Russ? I kid you not. In the middle of this, and he looks at me, his eyes are like as big as saucers, and he goes, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, nothing. At this point, we're either going to cry or we're going to laugh, okay? And you look like you're struggling, so I'm trying to help you out, you know? And he's shaking his head. He is shaking his head. Look at me. He goes, you're going to be just fine, you know? And I think limitations go hand in hand with attitude. I'll get people, my biggest question I'm asked is, I always see you smiling. I always see you happy. How do you stay so positive? Well, part of that is a choice. Let's back up. Part of that is my kids walked away without a scratch. Okay, any mom will take that. Any dad will take that. Yeah. The second part of that is you have a choice. You can choose how you handle adversity in your life, whether your outlook will be one of bleak or one of hope. We all have our storms. And I unfortunately can't fix all your problems, but I can tell you something that you probably didn't know, is that each and every one of you have greatness in you. Absolutely, every one of you has something in you, you just don't even know it yet. And the reason I know that is because I found it myself. It takes a lot of soul searching sometimes to figure out who you are and who you want to be and find out what your why in life is. When you saw the video of surfing in Hawaii. Well, I'm walking down the sidewalk, minding my own business with my family. We're walking, and of course it is a little unusual to see a bathing suit lady with, fake legs walking down the sidewalk, I guess. And there's a lady in Hawaii, and she comes up, and she just puts her hands right in front of my shoulders. And I'm just looking like, yes? She goes, oh my God, she goes, I'm terrified of the ocean. Well, what are you doing in Hawaii? You're surrounded by water, but I'm terrified of the ocean. Please just tell me it was not a shark. Oh, wait, it gets better. It gets better. I looked at her, deadpan as deadpan could be. Remember, my kids are there, my husband's there. I'm like, I'm sorry to tell you, ma'am, it was a shark, and I walked off. My husband looked at me, and my son goes, are you not going to go back and tell her? And I'm like, nope. You're going to ask me that kind of question? I mean, you're in Hawaii. What are you doing in Hawaii? If you think a shark's going to bite you, yes, a shark took my leg. She'll never go in the ocean again, ever.